to young people, I was talking to folks at the University of Western Ontario, and I was talking to them at Carleton. So many young people are in hock up to their ears on tuition because they know they have to acquire skills, they have to be trained, and too often they find when they finish doing that and they have this big debt that they can't get jobs in this economy in the skill areas where they've been trained. I talked to new Canadians in my riding who are emergency room physicians, who are pharmacists, who are accountants, who are engineers, who are bagging groceries and driving cabs. They can't get into our economy. They can't use the skills that they have. And I talk to folks, hardworking men and women, who have lost their jobs in our manufacturing sector. 200,000 over the last 4 years. I was in London earlier this month. In London, 5,000 people have been laid off in the past year. And one of the people I was talking to was a process server. What he does is he serves legal documents, and he serves mortgage foreclosures. And since November, his business has been up 75%. This is not the kind of business that he wants, and it's not the kind of business that we want in Ontario, right? So, when you look at all these intersecting problems, you start saying, well, what are the solutions? What are the pieces that will actually give us the kind of economy we want? And I believe that building a new energy economy will make a big difference here, will give us the jobs that we need, will give us the economic security we need, that will protect our environment. Because the reality is, in a world where we're facing big environmental crises, where we're facing constraints on provision of oil and other fuels, that those countries, those communities, those provinces that actually develop renewable energy and energy efficiency can offer companies reliable, affordable power. They're the ones that are going to hold jobs, and they're the ones that will attract jobs. The people who develop the new products, the new technologies that the rest of the world is going to want, those people will have a secure future. Ontario can be that place, and we can be those people who make those changes, who have those products. The reality in Ontario is we have all that we need to build that kind of economy. We have all the renewable power assets. We have abundant sunshine. We have some of the best wind power opportunities in North America. We have heat in the ground underneath our feet. We have all those renewable assets. We have large rivers, moving bodies of water to make hydro. And we have the social assets. We have skilled tradespeople who are very interested in doing this kind of work. We have highly trained professionals. We have a sophisticated manufacturing sector that can make high-quality goods. We have the universities and the research centers that can develop the new technologies. And frankly, folks, we have the money. We have pension funds that are looking for the opportunities to make these investments. When you look at all that, you then look at the examples. Who's actually pulled it together? And there's some examples overseas, and there's some examples close to home. Overseas, Denmark. Denmark is a country of about 5.5, 6 million people. It's got the population of the Greater Toronto Area. And in the 1970s, they were hit very hard by the oil crisis. They realized that they were exceedingly vulnerable to that cutoff of energy. 9% of their energy was imported. Sounds familiar. And they went through a huge national debate on how they would provide themselves with electricity. Would they go nuclear? Would they expand their coal facilities? Would they take another path? And looking at the same assets we have, smart people, sophisticated manufacturing, a lot of air in motion, they developed the modern wind energy industry over 25 years ago. And since then, an industry that didn't exist in the 1970s is now employing many, many people in this small country, 20,000 people, and a multi-billion-dollar export sector. Small country. In Germany's gone into wind power. Their wind opportunities are not as good as they are here. The second largest consumer of steel in Germany is the wind turbine industry. So they have a domestic steel industry that makes steel to build their domestic electricity system. They keep the jobs and the money flowing within their own economy. Closer to home, in Windsor, overnight, in summer, electricity, which is relatively plentiful at 3 in the morning, is used to make ice. They make a lot of ice in Windsor and they store it. And during the day, in the middle of summer, they use that ice to cool 1.5 million square feet of office space. Downtown Toronto, some of the biggest office buildings in Canada are cooled by cold water taken from deep in Lake Ontario. And I should say, Jack Layton and I had a lot to do with making that happen. We've done that kind of work here in Canada. In Barrie, in London, in Kingston, in Toronto, there are solar-powered parking ticket dispensers. If you've ever gone to a parking lot where you have to get a ticket you put on your dashboard, 2,000 of them in Toronto, tons of them in Barrie and Kingston, one in London. They're just bolted into the sidewalk. They're not wired to anything. They don't use uranium, they don't use coal, they don't use oil, just good old Ontario sunshine. And so you can see all the elements there. Much less uranium, much less coal, much less natural gas, and a lot more local labor, and a retention of all that purchasing power here in Ontario. And that's the opportunity before us.